So what
Mike,
outfit were you planning on wearing before your Sixers loss? I guess you must be coming in pretty conflicted. Because I expected a old school Oscar jersey, old school Kareem jersey, something. I expected something, but I guess the Sixers kind of ruined that for you last night. So you just decided to play it straight. Is that what I'm saying?
Let's not. No.
Because I just want you to know. I want the people to know.
I knew you were going there.
You interrupted my vacation. Okay, for me to come in and take my medicine. Okay, just bringing y'all all the way behind the curtain. It's 9:37 in the morning. All right, I never took a class before 10 o'clock in college. I don't do TV before 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But I'm here like a man to take my Milwaukee medicine.
I appreciate that.
So go ahead. Without further ado.
I'm glad you're here to take the Milwaukee medicine because you brought up Philadelphia, and I think that is a great element of distraction. We're not talking about Philadelphia yet. We'll get there. But I just want to point out that yesterday was the yesterday. Oh, hold on. Well, no. Oh, stop that. Most recent. We had an ongoing battle. It's been a war. You told me last week that you're not only rooting. You're not just rooting for a team in a series. You're rooting against me specifically, which took it to a whole new level. Yeah. All right. So look, Mike. I'm just gonna make this simple. Yesterday was the first day of summer. And it was also Father's Day, and there are lessons to be learned from both of those events yesterday. First of all, you should be happy that we're in a new season. Because frankly, Mike, you had a rough spring. You had a rough spring, brother, when it came to basketball analysis before the playoffs started. Now, I just want to point out to you that I told you a while ago that the Utah Jazz weren't going to win a thing. I told you that during the regular season. You pushed back. I told you a while ago that before the playoffs started, that the LA Clippers were not making a mistake by kind of directing their playoff positioning. You talked about some basketball gods. There is only one true God. There's no such thing as a basketball god anyway. Then I wanted to tell you about the LA Lakers, how their playoff position did matter. You told me it didn't. I told you the Phoenix Suns would beat them in not 7, but 6. You told me it wouldn't happen. And then finally, I told you about the cotton candy, accomplished nothing, anointed before their time, Brooklyn Nets, how they wasn't about nothing. They never go be about nothing. And when it came down to it, they're full of excuses and, 2 inches short of advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals. So if you're keeping score at home, I'm not talking about your basketball record. I'm just talking about Brooklyn, what Brooklyn has accomplished. So far, they've traded 7 prime draft choices, 3 draft choices and 4 pick swaps. So there's 7 first-round draft choices for James Harden. And what they've got to show for it in return is a playoff win, a series win over the 500 Boston Celtics. That's what they got to show for. Those are the facts. I don't want to hear about any excuses. What it comes down to is they traded 7 first-round picks, and so far, what they've got to show for it is a series win over the Boston Celtics. And you know what? You're probably wondering, okay, Michael, you couldn't have seen Kyrie Irving being hurt. You couldn't have seen Anthony Davis going down in a heap and totally changing the complexion of that Suns series. But I'll tell you this, because I watched Endgame yesterday. I know Teray's not a fan of Endgame, but you are and I am. That's one of the things we have in common. We both share a love of Endgame. And there was a scene in Endgame, you know it well. You know that movie, Back to Front, Soup to Nuts, A to Z. So there was a scene where Thor is there, and he sees his mother. And his mother looks at him, and she says, oh, this is not the Thor. This is not the Thor that I remember. And he tries to distract his mom. He tries to say, oh, no. He said, okay, finally, how do you know that I'm from the future? And you know what she said to him, Mike? She said, I see with more than eyes. And that's just like me. I see with more than eyes. So, yeah, you could be distracted by the front-running Brooklyn Nets. You could be distracted by the wizardry of Kyrie Irving's dribbling and James Harden with his social media game, cap and no cap. You can be excited by not one, but two 49-point Kevin Durant games. That and 25 cents will have you just chilling on Flatbush on a Monday watching the postseason.
You know, you used to be a columnist once upon a time. A halfway decent columnist. First of all, you're a hypocrite. You're not a man of your word. Number one, what happened to, I'm done keeping score. I'm done keeping score. The I told you so thing, that was like, I don't know, a week ago. But that's okay. I'll let you cook. But actually, no, I'm not going to let you cook because that was whack. I'm returning that meal, okay? But if it's for a restaurant, I would send that meal back to the manager. Because you know what you sounded like just now, going back to your columnist days? You sound like a columnist who had an article or had his lead written long before the story ended and was just waiting to file it so he can go home early. Everything you just said, you've been sitting on all season. And it takes the most lazy analysts known to man, okay, to come in here today after a Game 7 overtime win and beat his chest. Are you serious? Are you really going to beat your chest when the difference between the Brooklyn Nets advancing and the Milwaukee Bucks advancing is Kevin Durant's shoe size? Is that what you're doing right now? Like, after all you've seen, see, the difference between me and you, Michael, the difference between me and you is my rooting interest was not rooted in hate. Here's what's going to shock you. I'm actually happy that the Milwaukee Bucks won. Let me say that again. I am happy the Milwaukee Bucks done. Despite that awful diatribe you just went on, I am so thrilled for the Bucks. You know why, Michael? Because the Bucks winning is what should have happened. It was something right about it. It was something right about, given what they've been through the last couple of postseasons, you know, all the pressure on Giannis and Mike Budenholzer. The Brooklyn Nets losing was the result I could most live with, in other words, okay? The Bucks winning, I'm at peace with it, because I didn't want to have an entire summer of questioning whether Giannis heart pumped Kool-Aid, whether I was seeing Mike Budenholzer. Mike Budenholzer probably would have been fired by now if they would have lost Game 7, okay? So I didn't want to see that for them. Meanwhile, the Brooklyn Nets, you may call them excuses. I call them reasons. That big three played 8 games this season. It was a big 1.5 come playoff time, or come this series. And at the end of it, it took overtime in Game 7. So if I had a cap, I would tip it to you. I meant to grab one. I got one somewhere. I would honestly tip it to you, Michael. Props to the Milwaukee Bucks for showing the guts and the character to survive a road Game 7. But it was Game 7, which means a coin flip series. So for you to sit up here and talk about I told you so, cotton candy, that is so lame. That is so weak. That was so predetermined. That was such a telegraph pass. Okay? I can't believe that's what you come in here with today, to say, oh, I told you so. They won Game 7 in overtime. Michael, come on, bro.
So.
Really?
No, I want to go. No.
Okay.
You know what?
And you know
I want to go back. I want to go back to the film.
No. You had a whole 10 minutes of nothing. No, I ain't done. You had a whole 10 minutes of nothing. I ain't done. You said absolutely nothing in 10 minutes.
Go ahead, make your excuses.
I'm not done.
Keep it. I'd love to hear excuses
I'm not making
at 9
excuses.
o'clock in the morning.
I'm going to give you a compliment.
You sound like my
I'm
kids.
going to give you a compliment.
Making
I'm going to give you a
excuses.
compliment.
Give me more excuses.
I'm not going to talk about your kids. I'm talking about your wife. This is why your wife handles the money, okay? Because clearly you have no idea how the stock market works. Because you just said the Brooklyn Nets made all these trades, and they made a big trade for James Harden, blah, 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 pick swaps, and all they have to show for it is a 1-series win. Well, yeah, because they were all hurt. This was Kevin Durant's first year off of an Achilles injury. I'd say that was a success, okay? Both Kyrie Irving and James Harden. Kyrie Irving was a cheerleader coming to conference semifinals, and James Harden was a shell of himself. So to characterize this season as some kind of a failure, it's an incomplete.
That's good.
You were a professor. You can't grade them with a failure. It was an incomplete.
Yes, I would grade them.
Because they barely played together this year.
So what?
Okay, I'm sorry, are they all retiring? Is it over?
Okay,
This is not a dream deferred or denied. It's a dream delayed. Ever so slightly.
No, you
They'll
want to
be
talk about
back
the stock market.
and better and hopefully healthier. So you don't expect an immediate return when you're playing a long game here? Come on, man. You know better than that.
Hey,
and lastly, I will give you this.
Go ahead.
I will give you this. I will give you this. Clearly, you are more right with God because it ain't got nothing to do with your analysis, going back to your scorekeeping. It ain't got nothing to do with your analysis why your record seems to be better than mine so far this postseason. It's just because God has smiled on you. That's all it is. Clearly, you're a praying man. God has smiled on you. That's all it is. Because I told you, if you were right, it would be for the wrong reasons. So if you want to go ahead and hang your head on injuries and good fortune, at least from your standpoint, you got it. Have at it.
Hey, man. Hey, listen. I don't, first of all, you're not insulting me at all with that being right for the wrong reasons. Everything that has happened to me in my life has been kind of because somebody else maybe turned down an opportunity or I was in the right place at the right time. I got the job at the Boston Globe. You know Sean Powell. I got the job at the Boston Globe because Sean Powell turned it down first and wanted to go to Newsday. I was the second choice for that job. I won the Pulitzer. I turned it down first out of my young, youthful arrogance and ignorance. I turned it down first. Somebody named James Crutchfield helped me out. So I don't mind being wrong and being right at the same time. But it's funny, man. You talk about the stock market. Hey, I remember a really bad president. We don't have to say his name, but a really bad president said something. This quote was attributed to him when the market was doing well, the economy was doing really well, and the quote was, "Oh, this pandemic is so unfair to me." Sorry, dog. Like you can't factor that in. The stock market never promised any of us, hey, smooth sailing the entire time and everything is going to go well and you put your investment in, it's going to work out exactly the way you thought. And by the way, I'm a hypocrite. I am. But hey, join the club. Join the choir. I think you were probably singing baritone in that choir that I'm singing alto in. And that is, look, you got to decide, are you going to be a person who just says the facts, which you did last week? It's all about the facts, just the facts. You put the facts out because you didn't want to be in the sentimental analysis. You gave me facts when the Brooklyn Nets were up 3-2. Hey, here are the facts, Michael. Mm-hmm. Here are the facts. All right. So you're going to go with the facts or you're going to go with the excuses? Because nobody makes excuses for LeBron James when in these comparisons with Michael Jordan, they talk about how many finals series he's lost. Nobody says, well, hey, he lost because of this, and that.
Actually, they do. No.
Well, most people don't. Most people, it depends on where they're sitting. If they're sitting on the side of Jordan, they'll make excuses. Hey, one guy's 6-0. It's the facts. One guy's 6-0 in the finals. The other guy's lost finals game. Look, I know Kyrie got hurt. I know James Harden got hurt. But that is part of your risk taking when it comes to going all in and trying to win a championship. How dare you say it was a successful year because Kevin Durant proved that he could come back from an Achilles injury.
That's not what I said. I said his recovery was a success. I said his recovery was a success. Clearly.
Not a question for
Kevin Durant.
Before the season started,
but
I had
when
him
it
as my
comes
number
to
2 player in
the
the league.
overall experiment, okay, let's end this here because we got more to cover and not a lot of time to do it since you wanted to, bloviate about God knows what, okay? Listen, here's the bottom line. The irony of this entire Brooklyn Nets.
You being wrong and not accepting it.
I'm not taking anything away from the Bucks winning. I've given the Bucks props. It's not an excuse. But the irony, or I guess, what's fitting about the fact that the Nets did not win this year because they didn't play together. Again, 8 games in a regular season and 1 playoff series. They weren't, the big three wasn't together, wasn't who we expected them to be for the conference semifinals against the Bucks, is that the question that you and many others had going into the season was whether or not they could even play together. Well, ironically, they barely played together. So anyway, point being, it wasn't a 1-year experiment. It wasn't one and done for them. They'll be back.